Oh, hello. It's been a while since I turned on my microphone while I played through a game. Pardon me while I pour a drink. You know what? It would help if you had sound. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. I'm not doing this today. Excuse me, pardon me. Excuse me, pardon me. Why is there no sound? Pardon me, pardon me, pardon me. Oh, that's why. Haha. Let's try that again. What about now? Do we have sound? There we go. So, as I was saying, it's been a while since I turned on my microphone while I was playing for several reasons. Um, Once upon a time, I made a habit of playing whatever game I was playing and then talking about whatever came to mind or ranting about whatever came to mind. It was cathartic, it was therapeutic at a certain level. I need to make a quick adjustment here. Here we go. Um, On top of the fact that I've done a lot of playthroughs of Final Fantasy V in the last year or two, I've not had a huge need or desire to hear the soundtrack while I'm playing. It is nice to have some audio feedback when you're going through menus and things like that. So hopefully I won't have to do as much, reversing certain kinds of mistakes um, that you can typically avoid with that audio feedback. But I found that number one, it wasn't particularly helpful for people to hear me say whatever I was thinking while I was playing. Um, and like I said, I just didn't have a particular need of listening to the soundtrack as I was playing. And on top of both of those things, I started listening to various podcasts. And I've played through Final Fantasy V probably at least 5 or 6 times, with that being a custom or practice of mine, which means, I've listened to probably 80 to 100 hours worth of, YouTube videos and podcasts while I'm playing. Um, Making pretty good use of that time, and it's almost become a form of meditation, to put it one way. Because you're really going through very similar emotions, and there's ebbs and flows to this game. Like right now, the intro to this game is about 4 minutes long. I'm not even holding the controller in my hand. It's on complete autopilot. I don't have to do it or say anything special for this to work its way through. It's actually unfortunate that I'm talking over this. This is very well written music. Nevertheless, it occurred to me that this would be a good run for me to turn the mic back on and kind of contribute some content on top of the content. As a result, I don't think all of these segments are going to be public. I think general consumption of some of the things I have to say is probably a good thing, but um, keeping some of those musings um, private and shared with select individuals, I think is probably more appropriate than just sharing with the whole world. But there's some things that I've gone through and experienced and learned from over the past handful of years, uh, not just in playing Final Fantasy V, but also just in real life. I think, the world might benefit, even if it's one or two people out there, from hearing. So, so there's that. So that's what you're here for. Buckle up. It can take anywhere from probably 18 to 30 some odd hours to beat the game. It really depends on how you play and what your luck is like, we'll say. So I'm playing through a challenge called the Four Job Fiesta. So once a year, it's actually multiple times a year, but there's a main event once a year where players all over the world will go through Final Fantasy V, but only be able to use certain skill sets with the characters they play as. And it adds an element of difficulty to the game. And like I said, this is probably, the gazillionth time I've played through Final Fantasy V recently, and this will be the last challenge run I do for a while. With that in mind, the Four Job Fiesta is actually a fundraiser in addition to a global sort of competition of sorts. It's no one that's like number one, so to speak. So competition probably isn't the right word for it, but it is a worldwide event where people play through Final Fantasy V, and they adhere to various challenges. And the primary goal is A, having fun, and B, at the same time, making sure that certain causes are acknowledged and supported. One moment. All right. I figured steel blue was good for this. Not quite gray. Not quite blue. Over the years, I have learned to embrace the fundraising targets of Four Job Fiesta with a certain grain of skepticism. It tends to be an exercise in virtue signaling, whatever the hot button issue of the day is, which is fine for what it is. I'm not that mad about some of the choices they make. It's just, like I said, it's virtue signaling. It's low-hanging fruit. So this year's fundraising target is the Trevor Project, which is more aligned with LGBTQ plus concerns, which at a certain level is valid. At a certain level, I don't want to participate in that kind of political dialogue, we'll say. Like last year's fundraising target was Planned Parenthood, for example. And the year before that, it had some Black Lives Matter association. Excuse me while I get this hidden treasure here. So typically what I would do with any of these runs is I'll give $20 to whatever their goal is. And then any run after that is my choice, so to speak. So I have not actually made any financial contribution to the Trevor Project yet. However, I have gone ahead and become my financial support of causes that I find to be important for the moment. And as the math sort of pans out, again at about $20 per run, I have joined the Patreon of a YouTube channel that I've been following over the past couple years as I've been playing through these games. His name is Jacob Berman. The name of his channel is History Valley Podcast, and he has a tendency to bring on a wide variety of scholars and authors, professors, looking mainly at biblical history, theology, different approaches to various related topics. So I found it fitting to support his channel for as much content that I've absorbed from him, and knowing that he's a smaller creator among some larger creators that have similar platforms, similar goals, but a different kind of reach. He clearly does this as something of a hobby, but he takes it with great seriousness. So I will eventually I'll have more to say about that later on. Also, the challenge run for this set. Each crystal that you encounter in the first world opens up a new set of jobs that your characters can select. And for this particular challenge, instead of having certain jobs assigned per crystal, so let's say, whatever job is made available when you get to the wind crystal, your characters have to either pick that job, or if it's not, or if for whatever reason you're assigned a job that's not available yet, you have to remain what they call a freelancer, meaning you haven't assigned a job character. Like right now, nobody here has a job yet because we haven't even found a crystal. But once you get to a crystal, normally a job is assigned to you from that crystal. Some challenge runs are not that straightforward, and this particular run is not that straightforward. Every time you get to a crystal, you will get a random job assigned to you from any of the possible crystals, which means, like for instance, the first job that I have assigned to this team is a hunter. A hunter is not available to you until much later in the game. So for the first hour or so of the game, we will be stuck as freelancers, which is fine. I've had worse problems to deal with. As a matter of fact, Freelancer is not bad early on in the game anyway. Freelancer can equip anything. But they have no unique abilities. switching their weapons out because she actually has slightly higher speed than he does. Allowing for a setup just like that. Also, this controller that I'm using is slightly ridiculous. You'll see me make some weird movements. I may, at some point, you have to reverse to undo some mistake that this borked controller will make sometimes. But the first hour or so of this game is predictable. Like I said earlier, there's no job assignments, so there's not a lot of diversity. It's just a matter of getting used to some of the basic game mechanics. And given that I've played this game 10,000 times already, it's not really going to be a challenge. It's really more of a going through the motions type thing. Also, for what it's worth, I don't plan on speaking the entire game. I reserve the right to sit here in silence as I play this. I apologize if that's not entertaining, but I'm not reading most of this dialogue. It's not exactly a speed run, you know, where you attempt to go through as quickly as possible, but at the same time, I don't need to read this dialogue. And as the game goes on, it'll become a little more. Well, I'll fill it out, we'll say. And to explain, I guess, a little bit of where I see some of this dialogue going. Recently, my father passed away, which is not a plea for sympathy, though. I mean, I appreciate condolences. That's not why I said it. One of the curious things about Final Fantasy V is that there is a curious lack of parental figures. Everyone's parents are missing or dead or something. It's just not even mentioned, not even spoken about. It's just very strange when you really examine it at that level of scrutiny. So the girl on the right, Lena, her father is the king of the kingdom that we just left the vicinity of. The character that I named Meteor, we don't really know we don't get his backstory until later in the game. So I'm not going to spoil that yet, but and then Galef, which is probably supposed to be pronounced Galef, he is more of a grandfather type character, but he has no memory of anything because he just fell off the meteor that fell earlier. So he has amnesia. And this is the fourth character here, Ferris. Ferris is a pirate captain. Again, not to spoil too much of her story. That is a she that looks like a he. Which that'll be addressed probably in the next segment, but she basically was raised by pirates, we'll say. So she doesn't have a father figure at this time. Lena is out looking for her father. So he was the one that hopped on the Drake and flew to the wind shrine where the wind crystal exploded. So she's going to go find her dad. That's her reasoning for taking this trip. And then Bart's, aka Mateo, is along for the ride, but his parents are not even relevant to the story for several hours from now. So, in a certain sense, Galef kind of steps in to that role, maybe for them, um, but really more as a grandfather than a father. So, like, there's this gap in leadership, um, and to the extent that I suppose I can align that with my struggles, my observations and perspective from having just lost my father. Find that interesting. How some of those themes may be woven together. Also, as I'm listening to this audio, I'm well aware that there's a part of the audio that's missing. Like the strum of the guitar, I can't hear. I don't know if it's missing on your end, or if it's just mine. When I tested the audio earlier, it looked like it was coming through as mono. So both ears were coming through with the same audio. Maybe it's just really quiet. So, since we don't really have a job to worry about, I am getting a bit ahead of ourselves with the game here. I don't think you're really supposed to come back here so early, but so the absolute chaos of this random type challenge. It's called the Meteor challenge. It's new. It's new to the Four Job Fiesta. So, I'm giving it a whirl. So the reason I named Bart's Mateo, he's the only character you can actually name in this game. I named him Mateo because in Final Fantasy IV, if you play the Super Nintendo version, the American version, for whatever reason, Meteor is not called Meteor, it's called Mateo, or Meteo, something. And it's almost like a variant of Matthew, Mateo. So it's a pun. It's a pun that's going to seem cute to about 2 people on planet Earth. And I'll take it. Excuse me, pardon me. I don't think it's necessary to have this dialogue right here. I think it's entirely skippable, but that's basically the only reason we came here, is to get that treasure and to get a little bit of experience for these characters. That's an example of the controller doing what the controller wants to do. This is basically a treasure hunt. If this controller continues acting silly, I may switch back to using my keyboard. There's a lot of button mashing involved. I don't like blowing out my keyboard keys. See something. YouTube is hollering about my internet speed. Controller's gonna controller, apparently. Right. There's a cutscene, so to speak, that we're skipping here. What? Wow. I have never heard that before. That is different. That's different. The game is harmonizing with itself. That was differently different. It makes me wonder how much other weird stuff has gone on with the music and runs that I haven't heard. What? What was that? The crystal amplification suddenly stopped responding. What is? Am I tripping? Is the game tripping? The crystal. I am not used to seeing that error message. That is wild. Take a picture of that. I'll have to. I'll Google that later, I guess. What amplification system? I'm wondering if that's supposed to be like some kind of coincidence, like with Tycoon on the top floor. That's Lena's father. I don't know. 1 experience. Okay. Mold winds have a rare chance to drop an elixir, and then the goblins have a rare chance of dropping leather shoes. It's literally the only reason we're grinding here. It's better to grind here than in some other areas, just because of those possible drops. When we get to the ship graveyard, we'll do a little grinding for daggers, but aside from that, there's not really going to be a worthwhile grinding spot beyond this for a while. Not that we're going to need elixirs right now, but we will later probably. It's an investment, we'll say. Of course, we can get rods. Not an investment. One of the reasons that I started streaming these games is because I'm a bit of a workaholic, and it keeps me honest. And I've recently found too that even when I'm playing, I tend to keep one eye on my work computer, even if I'm not supposed to be at work. It's fairly toxic, but I've been getting better at that. I recently had to take time off of work because of my dad's passing. His celebration of life ceremony was recently, and so that became an excuse for me to actually take my time off of work on my normal days off, in addition to the time off that I took for bereavement. And that was a surreal kind of experience to have 5 straight days where I didn't work at all. Now, I did have to interface with some of my employees about certain things, because there were some things that only I could do, you know. But I learned a lot about myself in that experience. A couple days ago, we had a storm come through. Even though the storm only lasted for a couple of hours tops, I ended up losing internet and electricity for the greater part of 12 hours. And that was interesting. You learn a lot about yourself when you're just kind of sitting in the dark. There we go. There's an elixir. Alright, so once we gain the level, we'll get on out of here. Giving myself permission to disconnect is kind of a personal challenge for me. As a matter of fact, I was streaming a playthrough of Final Fantasy 5. I was like very much near the last dungeon, or in the last dungeon, where my power went out. I continued playing, even though it's not something I could stream at that point. Not for very long, because it was really the only power source that I had to charge my phone was my laptop. So it's not like I could make much abuse of it without shooting myself in the foot. Just in case of emergency, I didn't want my phone to brick, you know. Ooh, interesting. Well, we did get an elixir out of the deal. I'm not really interested in bringing it back to life. This will make more sense later. At some point, we will lose him in the party, though. So him being a little behind in levels is actually going to happen anyway. Wow, good elixir luck too. So again, even though we're at the Wind Crystal, and normally we would have a job assigned at this point, because we were assigned a job randomly, this means, in this case, that we won't actually have access to that job for a couple of hours at least. So part of my regular practice had been to play approximately an hour a day. I don't know how that's going to pan out. In practice, but so the father figure reappears. If you've ever played Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, or if you've seen me play Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, you'll know that there's a trope in that game where there's an old man on the cloud that just so happens to appear everywhere that you need to be going. For the first part of the game, Lena's father, King Tycoon, pretty much nails that trope. So we'll spend a couple of hours chasing after their father. And by there, I mean Lena and Ferris. Spoiler alert, Lena and Ferris are sisters. Which there was a cutscene where Lena and Ferris are looking at their pendants. They have matching pendants. Yet it somehow does not occur to them that they're sisters. Anyway, it doesn't always have to make sense. Nope. All the notes. Do I? No. Probably helpful if I saved, huh? Alright, so this is Zock's house. He was the one that's responsible for the building of the Torna Canal. He claims to have lost the key. He's just holding on to it. That's neither here nor there. The point is that he is another grandfatherly figure. So he's trying to protect Lena from the dangers of going through the Torna Canal, but Matteo here will shortly acquire the key after a conversation with Zoc. So it becomes almost like a rite of passage type thing, literally getting passage through the canal. But instead of getting that directly from Zoc, it's a manufactured transfer through Matteo, which again starts this process in the game where, spoiler alert, as the player, you over time will get more of this sort of almost like parental responsibility over these kids. You become the parent figure. You know, you help them pick which jobs would be best for them, etc. Grow them in their skills, and then set them against the various challenges of the world, including the final boss. It's supposed to be a test of your so-called parenting, so to speak. That's probably a very strange way to look at the structure of Final Fantasy V, but I don't know how intentional that was. It just so happens to be how the dice is rolled. So it's another way of giving the character that responsibility. Nope. Wait. Okay. The potions may not be that relevant where we're going, but we'll see. One moment. I want to grab a snack real quick. I don't think the wave noises are supposed to carry on like that. I don't know why this run is glitched. Absolutely not. The dagger actually does more damage than the broadsword. Let me look at something real quick. Alright. I just edited the sound settings a little bit. Hopefully that'll give us some relief from some of the weird stuff going on. So these skeletons drop daggers. Of which I would like 2 more. Okay, there's one. Really and truly, I should probably go for a fourth dagger, but you know what? It's the word. So this is where we find out that Ferris is actually a female. She's hanging out with the dudes, gonna dry off their wet clothes. She's not having it. Oh wow, I really should have just gained a level before doing that. That's okay. That's alright. I would have gotten a free heal out of the deal. Hmm. Ooh, 2 daggers. Hmm. So this boss fight is with the Siren. You can see Mateo's connection with his mother. These are apparitions. These are not really their parent figures in reality. Again, we've still not come to terms with the fact that they're sisters, but Galuf is not actually affected by this. This is his granddaughter, who we'll speak more about later. But he is unswayed by this because he has amnesia and has no idea who she is. This cutscene really needs a fast forward button. Also, this is one of the very few times in the game where a boss type figure actually gets like a full size sprite like that, like really double size. Even at the end of the game where you're fighting much larger bosses, both in terms of size and strength. I wonder why they couldn't get that to fit as a regular sprite, or why they didn't give the same treatment as some other bosses. Just kidding. For whatever reason, the sound is messed up on this run. I should have heard a noise. When I was walking while poisoned, I should have heard a noise. I'm not sure what the deal is. think after I get the Windrake, I'm gonna take a nap. That's what I'm gonna do. In the short term, though, I can go ahead and beat this boss. As many times as I've played this game, I never really thought of it as foreshadowing that Lena gets poisoned here. But she's about to get poisoned for real. Okay, and just like that, it was nap time. Well, if you made this far, I appreciate you watching. In the next segment will be going through some cutscenes here, getting some equipment well before it's probably intended, but it'll make this part of the game a lot easier since our freelancers can equip whatever they want. So, until next time.